Welcome to the Rock Music Alliance interview sessions. I'm your host, Cole Coleman, along with Claudio Pesavento, keyboardist from Mahogany Rush and the Chris Squire Band. On our show today, you know her primarily as the bass player for the band Vixen, but she's also playing bass with Adrian Smith and Ritchie Kotzen, and she also has her own solo career going, releasing music under her own name. Welcome to our show, Julia Lage.
Yay! I had to tell you, you are the first person ever that know how to say my last name, Lage. It was perfect.
Well, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I have to confess, I practiced.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I'm flattered. Thanks for practicing my last name. Welcome. Welcome to my little room here. Let's chat, and thank you so much for having me in your show.
Great. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. Julia, what is the latest news from your world? Any tours and new releases coming out?
Wow, okay, I like starting like that. Okay, sure. In January I released a single called The Ride, and it had Doug Pinnick from King's X singing with me and Ritchie Kotzen, my husband, playing guitars with me. So it was an incredible single. I love the way it turned out. I wrote this song a long time ago, and when I recorded, I could hear Doug's voice for some reason, and I called him and asked him, and he said, sure. So I released this single a few months ago. There's a video with us. I'm so happy with the results. And so now I'm working on another single that is coming out pretty soon. I actually just shot a video in the desert, and it's called The Horizon, so I can't wait to share this one with you guys. So this is all my solo music. But parallel to this, Vixen is going out again now. Summer is coming, and we have all sorts of exciting shows. So check Vixen website as well. And pretty much it. Between my music and Vixen, Smith Kotzen, like you said, I have a band with it's Ritchie, my husband, and Adrian Smith from Iron Maiden. They have a band together called Smith Kotzen, and I play bass for them when they're out. So I think this is gonna be pushed a little longer, but maybe next year they have new material coming. So all these little exciting things.
Yeah, that's great. It's great. In choosing a location for your video, maybe it's because we're in Los Angeles, but I notice a lot of musicians seem to drive out to the desert, or sometimes Vasquez Rocks. They go out there and to shoot videos, But
it was my dream to film in the desert a video. I always wanted, and never again. It's just a disaster. It was so windy and sand everywhere. It was very hard. But the name of the song is The Horizon. So when you go out there and you see literally the horizon and the sun, it's just perfect location. So
Claudio recently did some video with the band, and he was out in a desert, as I remember. Wasn't that right, Claudio?
Yeah, it was Palm Springs, but
Palm Springs, yeah.
we were at the Air Museum, the Air.
Yeah, Air Museum, right.
Yeah.
I don't know much of Palm Springs.
It was hot like hell.
Oh yeah.
That windy too, actually. Yeah.
So Julia, I heard you mention, of course, that Ritchie Kotzen is your husband. How did you guys meet?
Oh gee, it's a long story, but we met basically through Facebook. But we saw each other in this venue in Brazil, just briefly, like just got hi bye. Then I added him on Facebook, and he saw me and recognized me, and saw that I was also a musician, that I played bass and all this stuff. And I was in a pretty big band in Brazil back then. So, the photos were pretty impressive, arenas and stuff. So he was like, oh my God, who is this musician? And then he started talking to me. And a year later, we met in person. And then, it's a long story, but that's basically when finally met, and just like, dee, dee, dee.
Very nice.
You changed the strings of his guitar.
Well, no, he changed the strings on my bass.
There you go. Well, remember, guitar players do it with G strings. So,
right, he plays everything. Honestly, he's just like an incredible musician. He plays bass so well, drums, keys. He's whatever, man.
Yeah, as we've seen, if you're in the music business for a long time, maybe like longer than 10 years or so, most people are picking up other instruments as they go along, out of need. So you end up being a multi-instrumentalist somewhere along the way. You got to have some keyboard skills, some vocal skills, guitar skills. You got to pick it all up.
Yeah, I
So
do kind of the same. I'm not good with the keyboards. I'm horrible. So I have actually the one that I released have something going on. I have another song called Wake Up, and I play the keys and there's some spooky sounds. But it's just so hard for me. It's an instrument that is not natural. Acoustic guitar, drums, bass, singing, of course, they're easier for me. Like I think like I play strings better than I guess piano is a string instrument, but I don't play piano well at all. It's just so hard. I appreciate who can do that.
yeah, Claudio's very good. If you need
Yeah.
some work, he's
Oh,
awesome.
there you go. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and as a bass player, you'd be interested. He was with the Chris Squire band. Chris Squire, the bass player
Yeah,
from
of
Yes.
course.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Oh my God, a huge inspiration for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in your songwriting, are you the sole songwriter or do you collaborate?
Dude, I try to collaborate a few times. I mean, I don't have a problem in collaborating, but my solo stuff is just my music. I love writing, and it's a process that I love. I mean, people ask, what is my study? Like, how do I study my bass? I'm like, honestly, I don't study the bass anymore. I did that in the past. What I do lately, I just open Pro Tools and I create like maybe a bass line, maybe a vocal thing, and then I start building up. I love the process of recording and making that idea turn into a song. So working on the lyrics and trying to sing better. So I love that process. So for me, it's just a lonely process. I sit here where I am right now, open my Pro Tools, I have everything I need around me, and just do that. So I mean, I work with people before, but usually my solo stuff is my compositions and my
Basically,
arrangements.
you basically improvise, like me. I improvise and record everything, and then I check it out after, figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I have the arrangements that I want in my head. I know exactly what I hear, and I say, oh, I would love to do this. And then sometimes I need to practice for that. So, like, I might have a bass line that, ooh, I'm not really good at this. So I sit and I practice that bass line so I can record what I'm hearing. Same with guitars. I mean, I have a few songs that I play the solo, and I hear something, I'm like, okay, let me practice. So, but I hear the arrangement, and usually everything you hear out there that is my song, is my arrangement, is my composition. I produce. So I usually go with a drum harp. I record the drums in the keyboards. I'm old school, so I do the little things, but I know what I want. So I go to my friend's house and I tell him what I need, what I want, the beats, like, and I'm a bass player and I love drums. So I like, oh no, this is like tung tung ta, not like tung, whatever, like I always love the drums. So I work with my friend Michael the Bastion. He's a great buddy of mine, and we work good together too on that sense. So yeah, I mean,
That's a great way to do it. As long
yeah,
as you can get the idea across, like with
yeah,
some other players that can actually like really do it very skillfully, that's a good way to do it. I do the same way. Like, I work with a drum program and just try to get
yeah,
the basic beats in certain sections down and then take it to a real drummer, you
right.
know.
But you
Yeah.
know what you want, and then you can direct them to what you need. And it's the same for me with guitars. This song of mine called Confess, I record all the guitars and I like the sound. I did the solo, everything. But the ride, I had the guitars, but one friend of mine also helped me with the guitars, and he was not on real amps. And I mean, sometimes it works, but for that one, it wasn't working. So I asked my husband if he could lay some guitars. That's how he ended up being in a track as well. It's like, I need that guitar sound, not that fake thing sound. So it's so hard. Some songs might work. And so he did it, like plug the Marshall right here in the garage, bang, and that sound that you're like, yes, please. So you need, I mean, I'm sorry, I just love real amps. I mean, come on.
Yeah. 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 They're getting,
Exactly.
the amp modeling is getting really, really good, but there's
Yeah,
there's
but it
still,
doesn't, when you pair them together, it's just like, okay.
yeah.
But I don't know, it's easier. I know, I understand that it helps a lot. I mean, if you're living in an apartment, for example, and you want to record your music, I mean, not everybody has access to the amps or studios and stuff. So I understand. It's
Yeah.
helpful.
Now, you must be very busy a lot of the time with Vixen. Will you have a chance to perform your music live?
Vixen, we do play a lot, but it's mostly on the summer. So we do have a few months of the year that we slow down. I've lately played a few shows doing my originals. I keep it very low key just because I'm still, trying to understand, the whole singing thing is just like a lot for me. I listen to crazy singers and I want to do those things like Ann Wilson, like the girl from Hailstorm or like whatever. So, so I've been doing, you can always fit your show in between if you want, I'm sure.
Well, you have a very compelling voice, so I mean, you may not be doing like all the acrobatics, that the other singers are doing, but it's very pleasant to hear you sing.
Thank you.
As I mentioned on the day I met you at the Rockin' Ferrani, you have a very strong stage presence. It's very noticeable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's
well, you wait to see me on Vixen. I get a little out of control. It's like headache. It's like, when you're in your familiar world, it's just like My husband, when I play with my husband, him and AJ were staying on the microphone mostly because they're singing, and I was not singing at all on that show. So I was just like jumping, and then Ritchie would make fun of me. He was like, "I'm singing and blah blah," and then suddenly I see something jumping, and then go over here, like, what is this? It's me. I'm like, "Whoa!" So I do like to enjoy the stage. I love the big stages. The bigger,
well, I
the
guess
better.
you've had a lot of experience. That might I mean, at this point in time, you've had a lot of experience on stage, but you look so comfortable on stage. That's what I was noticing, is that you have a very strong look, a very strong presence, but you just look like you belong up there. It's very natural.
She's a real musician. That's why.
I agree. I really feel that I belong that too. I mean, when I'm not there, I feel like a little off, and then like even like the smaller the venue, the most uncomfortable I get. I don't know why, because people are too close to me. You're not gonna notice me being uncomfortable, but I'll be like, oh my God, these people are so close to me. So
You have to wear glasses.
I know. I can't because I headbang and the glasses go away. But but like the bigger the better. We played at Wacken last year, and that festival is just incredible. And we played in the same stage that Iron Maiden played. And I mean, the sound, the crowd, everything was perfect. I was like, yes, that's where I want to be every night. So I love that vibe.
Let's take a listen to Julia's latest release, and when we come back, we'll ask her about Vixen. So here's about a minute and a half of Julia Lage's The Ride on the Rock Music Alliance.
Swallow. Every day you're proving who you are, flying how you should all the time. Doesn't matter who can see or not. I hope you really enjoy the ride. Follow the night. Only dreamers can survive. One day you might see the legend come alive.
Now, you've been working with Vixen since 2022. How did you get the gig with them?
I know Britt Lightning, the guitar player, for a long time. In the beginning, I had another project, and she's supposed to be the guitar player on that project. but she didn't got the gig on Vixen and it didn't work out. And I was very happy for her, but we kept in touch, etc. I think 7 years later or 6, they needed a bass player, and she had me in mind. She's like, "Oh my God, you need someone that can sing, do the harmonies, the high harmonies, and play bass." Is Julia, and she can hang. And I was friends with her already, and I knew I could hang with her. And she said the same to me. I mean, would you like to maybe join Vixen? I mean, the girls are great. And I was like, absolutely. I mean, yeah, let's do it. So I got the call from Roxy and from Larry Moran, the manager. Larry also knew me through Ritchie. I met Larry before because he does those Monsters of Rock cruise and all those cruises. So Ritchie always played there. So I met Larry before. He knew me. He saw me playing. So they both said maybe Julia will be a good fit. And that was it. They saw maybe videos, I don't know, and they hired me, and I met them on stage.
Wow.
Which was wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before. Wow,
Yeah.
first time
Brit
meeting
was
him
the
actually
same.
on stage. Wow.
Yeah,
It happens a
both
lot.
both me and Brit didn't necessarily audition or had a rehearsal before. We were just like, boom, just there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you're from Brazil. Were you aware of Vixen when you were in Brazil?
A little bit. I knew Edge of Broken Heart, and I think I knew Love is a Killer because Brazilians love ballads. It's just, I don't know why. We love ballads. So some bands, we only know the ballads. Like Journey, we only know the ballads. There's another band, I forgot their name, that just plays a lot of ballads.
Partner?
No, but that too, for sure. Anyhow, so yeah, I knew a little bit. But obviously when I got the material and I started listening to, I was like, oh, this is fun because they have all those riffs, guitars and bass playing riffs together. I love all that stuff. So it was pretty cool. And then fun thing is that last year we played in Brazil, my hometown, São Paulo, 2 shows in the same day, which was wild. But it was so fun. It was the first time they ever went to Brazil. And I was thrilled. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here when you guys are here. So it was awesome.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, how did it feel to step onto the stage for the first time as a member of Vixen? You mentioned you met them on stage, but I mean, like like picture the scene, go back in your mind, you've got the gig and you're walking on stage as a member of Vixen. What does it feel like?
It was a lot of things. I was mostly worried about, first of all, am I gonna gel with them, with the drummer, the guitar? I knew how Brit played, but I didn't know Roxy. I was like, are we gonna be grooving? Am I gonna be able to perform those vocals? I'm gonna be, it was all about, I hope I don't screw up because we didn't rehearse. And the other thing is that show, Cher started the show, she played about 7 songs, and then she announced that she was taking a hiatus and then I was gonna step in. So that was another type of adrenaline and another type of responsibility that I felt like, oh shit, so now she's saying goodbye and people are like, who is this girl? So a few people already knew me because I was already playing a few bands and even like with Adrian and Ritchie, but so it was like a lot of things, but mostly I was just making sure that my energy was right and then I could groove with them and then I could perform and then later I started meeting the girls and knowing them better and then things are like, oh shit, this is gonna be fun. But it was mostly like, let me make sure that I can do this right.
Right. Yeah. Being the professional is what you were doing, Yeah.
The professional part of me kicked first, always does. I'm like,
yeah.
When I played with Nico McBrain on the drums, because I played with Smith Kotzen and he jumped on the drums one night. My whole point, like he played a little different than the other drummer and he changed a few things. So I wasn't able to hear him necessarily as well as our drummer. So my whole time I was like worried to make sure that I'm grooving with him and making it work. And I forgot that I'm actually playing with Nico McBrain. It was just like the professional side of me always kicks in first. And then when you feel like everything is on control, then
Yeah.
But
Well, you got your practice at Soundcheck Live, right?
well, one of those things for sure, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't know who you're gonna play with.
Yeah. I like that because you learn a lot on
Yeah.
just jumping on the jams, and then you learn a lot. I always like that. You
How
have to
about
be
you?
able to
How about you,
hear.
Claudio? You've done a lot of work with a lot of people. Claudio, did you have one of those things where, there's only time to just do it live? Just meet me at the, oh,
Yeah, sound check.
I
Yeah,
can't
that's
imagine.
it. We just did you did couple songs sound check, but all the rest of the songs I just went for it.
Yeah.
And it was like a big shows too. It was in the 80s with Mahogany Rush. So yeah, I was surprised they don't rehearse.
Yeah.
They just meet on stage.
Well, if you can hear the other musicians what they're doing, and if you're aware of that,
Yeah,
you
that's important.
follow, right? It's a conversation. It's not like a monologue. That's
Yeah.
what's weird in some musicians too. Some musicians are just there in their world, and there's a monologue, and you're like, bro, we're trying to communicate. It's like maybe dynamics, what all that stuff. It comes from, okay, it's a conversation. It's music. It's not just you. If
Yeah.
it's just you and your piano, you do whatever.
Yeah.
But so
But
when you get that,
those days was all about the monitors because
yeah.
if you cannot hear the drummer, then you're lost. So
Oh shit.
the monitor guy asked me what do I want on my mix. I say I want the bass drum, the snare, and the hi-hat. That's it.
At least everybody's on the same tempo. Make
So
sure.
I follow the drummer,
Yeah.
because it was so loud too. The guitar player that I play with, it was very loud on stage,
Yeah.
and I remember I had like a small amp. And
Yeah.
the next show I had to get Marshalls because I couldn't hear myself either. It's like
Awesome.
it's a big stage.
Now everybody's just blasting loud.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
I like
what's very common these days, of course, are the in-ear monitors. Is Vixen using in-ear monitors now?
No, maybe the singer uses here and there, but like we don't. It's monitors. I love monitors. I used for 13 years in my band in Brazil, in years, for about 10 years, I'll say, but it's just not as rock and roll as I like. So, but I was playing country in Brazil, so it's different. But with Vixen, I learned I have a good mix that is not super loud. I hear from the stage, from the other people. So I try to keep things controlled because my husband has tinnitus and it's just so bad. So I try to avoid all that. Maybe put some earplugs, whatever. But I don't really like in-ears.
Yeah, that's tinnitus thing. That's a real occupational hazard for musicians. I hope you don't experience that. You have that, Claudio, or did you?
Yeah, I was
that?
deaf in the 80s. I was very much deaf, but now I'm getting back my ears.
That's
What
good,
was
man.
that?
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, Julia, you're a creative musician. You're writing, not just a player. So, is there songwriting opportunities for you with Vixen?
Maybe now in the future. We talked about that stuff before. I actually wrote a song for them. Obviously, I just wrote and say, hey, listen, this could be something that you might want to use. And we all like the chorus, but we're trying to work on some things. And so we ended up going with Fred Curry's song. But I think Roxy already had that in mind that she wanted to release that song. Excuse me, I'm drinking this tea. Like, oh, it's burning it's ginger.
Fred Curry from Cinderella.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm sure there's a possibility, but never know.
Well,
Never know what's the next step.
Yeah, the most recent single release that I saw was is called Red. Who are the writers on Red?
Well, Fred Curry, and there's two other ones that I'm not familiar with. I don't remember, but I know Fred wrote and Fred produced. So yeah.
He's good.
Gotcha. Now, as younger players take over the spots in Vixen, like yourself and Britt Denaro, do you think Vixen will evolve its style, or will it try to preserve the past?
I think a little bit of both. You have to preserve some of the past. Even music-wise, I mean, I like Red. I think it's a pumped-up song, but I miss a little bit of the old-school riffs that, like, we do a lot of riffs in Vixen, like bass and guitars together, unison stuff. So Red is more forward, like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and it goes, which is very efficient. But I believe that we want to bring, in conversations with Roxy, and in the past. I feel like both. We have to keep the essence, but it's almost like you have to adapt. It's different people. It's like 2024 is not the 80s or the 90s anymore. So all these little things, I think it's a little bit of both, and it's gonna be naturally like that. I think.
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, some bands, some classic rock bands, just hang on to the old tried and true, and they're just kind of riding it out, presenting their show the way they have been for a long time, and that's what they want to do. But yeah, I always think it'd be really cool to see like Vixen putting out some new material and becoming really like current and relevant to today would be amazing, as well as having hits from the past.
Yeah.
Anyway, they save a lot of money on hairspray now, so
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. I mean, my hair is so straight that all I do is curl. So I'm like curling iron all day long. Like, but I should be using hairspray. There you go. Why am I not thinking about that?
Yeah, I never,
Aquanet.
I never could figure out how the bands from that era could get their hair so big. I used to have really long hair, and I could never get the volume that
Really?
I saw.
Did you used to use did you make a perm?
Yeah, I had I would blow dry in hairspray, but I never did a perm.
Maybe that you missed that for sure, because then you're already
I know.
the perm already make your hair big, and then the spray, and then the whole. I mean, there's so many things, and the products back then,
Yeah.
I don't even know, but nowadays there's some crazy products too. So
I never dry my hair, so I just went like this.
Yeah,
there you go, natural look.
Yeah, and
But I put hairspray too,
Claudia and I just spent some time this past week with Tommy Henriksen, of Alice Cooper, Hollywood Vampires, and his
Yeah,
new
I
band
just saw
Crossbone
him the
Skull.
other day. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, and I got to say, I had to research him a little bit, and I just was checking out the photos of him with the band Warlock, and talk about big hair.
Oh, I never saw those photos.
Oh my gosh, but he looks like, he's such a young pup, and he's got this gigantic hair. It's like, oh my God,
Yeah. It's funny. My husband went through that phase. It wasn't gigantic, but it was wild. But then also he had the phase where his hair was super long and straight, gorgeous. Those days are over, I guess.
Yeah. But
Now it's short.
yeah, Tommy Henriksen's new band is definitely very cool. Crossbone Scully, you got to check it out.
No, I know his new band. And actually, I talked to him a few days ago. We went to Marcy's birthday. Marcy's from KLOS, and he was there. And then we were chatting, but I follow him. We know Instagram stuff. We follow each other. And I've seen his new band, so it's pretty exciting. I mean, glad for him.
That was at the Viper Room, right?
No, that thing was at the in Calabasas.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sage
Sage Rush
Rush,
Cantina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Julia,
And the Viper Room was something else. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
that's good. Take us back to your origins. Where were you born and raised, and how did you get into music?
I was born in Brazil, in São Paulo, and I was raised there. And when I was very young, I was a little hyperactive. I was very hyperactive, and I was getting aggressive. Like I was about 6. And I would fight in school in I don't know, kindergarten, whatever you call. So they suggest my mom to take me to therapy. And I went there, and there was a tiny piano. I always tell this story because it's true. There was a tiny piano on the floor. My mom is talking to the therapist, and I'm playing a song. Now I'm playing, I don't know if it was Happy Birthday, something like that. And the girl said to my mom, does your daughter play music? Does she study music? She's like, no, actually, we don't even have instruments in the house. So she's like, interesting, because she's actually playing a song. So she said, maybe it would be good for your daughter to be stimulated artistically, because usually kids are hyper or stuff like that. They just need to focus on something and put their energy somewhere. And for me, it was arts and music. So the minute my mom changed my school to a Waldorf school, which is a school where arts and music are as important as math and chemistry and whatever. So once I changed that, the day my mom picked me up from school, I fall asleep. And it was like, what's going on? So usually I'll be crying or angry or something. So I was able to channel that creative energy, that angry or hyper, whatever you want to call those kids, through music. And I feel like that's so important. Like sometimes kids just need more stimulation. It's not a big thing. Kids are, they're creative and they have energy. So that's how it started for me. So since I've been like 6.5, 7, I've been around music. So I knew a lot of instruments. I tried all different instruments. I sing in a choir, all that stuff. So it started pretty young for me. And that was it. I joined this band in Brazil. I was 17. It was already a professional band. Like, it was touring. I stayed there for 13 years until I finally moved here. And now, there you go.
Gotcha. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Attention guitar players, join the Thimble Slide revolution and free your slide finger. The Thimble Slide is a mini guitar slide designed to be worn on the tip of your finger, about 3/4 of the way down your fingernail. When worn there, you can still bend your finger, and most importantly, it's allowing enough of your fingertip through so you can press the guitar strings. The Thimble Slide is larger at the back and smaller at the front, so it follows the contour of your finger. So when you're wearing the slide, it's not loose or rattling around on your fingertip. This also allows your other fingertips in nice and close for playing. The sizing gap allows you to make the slide a little bit larger or a little bit smaller for a nice custom fit. So while you're wearing a Thimble Slide, you can, of course, use it as a slide. But more importantly, it allows you to still fret the strings so you can play the guitar. You can play chords. You can play lines while wearing it. You can bend strings with your ring finger. You can drag your fingertip across the strings if you need to. You can do pull-offs, hammer-ons. So there you go. You can actually still really do all the things you need to do to keep playing guitars like that. With its patented shape, you can slide and fret while wearing the Thimble Slide. Visit thimblslide.com. That's thimblslide.com. Why bass guitar?
You know, I wanted to be a drummer, and I was playing a little bit, but we wanted a band. It was me and 2 other girls in school. We wanted to put together a band. One of the girls was already a drummer. The other one was a keyboard player. And I was like, well, what should I really do? And then I told my mom I wanted to be a drummer. She's like, well, it doesn't fit in our apartment, so no. I have already played flute, violin. She's like, I'm not gonna go for drums now. So finally I was like, okay, what about bass? Because I remember discovering the bass and feeling the energy of the rhythm section as well. Oh, this instrument is cool, and it's like a low thing. It's just like go to your... You feel like in your groins, right? Suzy Quattro says that. So I'm like, what about bass? So I ended up playing bass, but always sing, always play acoustic guitar. But my dream was to be a drummer.
Interesting.
But it turned out that the bass picked me, I guess.
Yeah, gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
did you have any artists that you admired that played bass? You know, who was your inspiration?
Well, I like music, period, and I was always curious about all sorts of instruments. But I remember when I finally had the bass in my hands, I was totally into like Iron Maiden, Metallica, stuff like that, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses. They were playing this kind of music in the radio in Brazil. So I remember I always memorized pretty quick. So I memorized this Iron Maiden song. I forgot which one it was. It was a ballad, of course, in Brazil. But I didn't have the album. And I remember I got the bass and I was like, I'm going to try to learn this song by memory. And then in the future, I got the album and I actually had pretty much all the lines,
Parts.
all the notes, like, right. I was like, oh, yeah. But I learned it on my own a lot. And it was a lot of Aerosmith, a lot of Iron Maiden. There was a phase then that I discovered Rush, and I was obsessed with Rush, like literally. obsessed with Rush. And
Yeah, I mean, that's
I thought Geddy Lee was a girl because there was no YouTube or like I didn't really watch MTV that much back then. And then like I remember on the radio listening to Tom Sawyer. I'm like, oh, there you go, this cool song with this chick again. And I got the cassette tape and you record when it started on the radio. Like, yeah. So now I had it and I was learning and singing until finally I find out that Geddy Lee, it's a guy.
You can play anything. I see you post some, you play
Oh,
like some funk
oh yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
like it. You can
You
play
know,
anything.
a lot of Brazilian rhythms in me, of course. So a little bit of samba. So there was a lot of Brazilian musicians that was listening inadvertently, even. I had a phase of Jaco, and I couldn't understand much, but I was like, whoa. I had a phase of Marcus Miller a lot, like the slap stuff. So I had phases, but I also had a phase of listening to a lot of guitar players. Like I used to love listening to Steve Vai. It was just like an obsession. I went to the show, I was like, oh, this is so good. And later in life, I discovered Guthrie Govan, and that I think is Erotic Cake, the name of the album. I was like, every show that was playing in Brazil, I was putting this song, getting ready, like vibing with a total instrumental album. So I mean, it has so many influences, not
gotcha. Now,
only basses.
did
Yeah.
you get into any cover bands at all?
No, I literally joined my first professional band, the first band. I was 17 and I joined that band. I was 17 and I stayed 13 years there. And it was a band that was touring a lot. We had a Grammy nomination. It was like a pretty big deal. So I stayed there. I started with the real bands. And then I had my face was on the bus. It was like wild. And I was like, wow, I can eat for free and make money and play music.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's
But then
amazing.
when I moved here, things obviously I had to adapt. So then I joined the cover bands. I was doing all the covers and like the 4 hour shows. I was doing all that. But I kind of dig it because I was at the point in Brazil on that band that I was just not into it anymore. So I was here playing Led Zeppelin, I mean, all these songs. I was just, yes, this is. So I was actually happy and having fun playing the cover songs for a minute.
Right now, what was the inspiration that motivated you to come to Los Angeles? Like, what was that
There was no
that moment?
inspiration. It's because I start dating Ritchie, and then things got serious, and I was already so over my band in Brazil. 13 years later, I was just like, I'm not even playing rock. It's not even my thing. So he said, well, we're getting serious. Why don't you just quit your band and maybe move to LA? I was like, what? And I did. So that's it. It's his responsibility.
Yeah,
No, it's his fault.
it's a big leap. It's a big leap, but you you already you had a good in with Ritchie.
Yeah. But it was this because I never dreamed of moving to America. Nothing. Funny enough, my brother, on the other hand, always wanted. So he's here now, which is great, but he's here working. He has a working visa, but I never really care about leaving Brazil. But I love what I live now. I love, my family that I created here and everything. So, and the music that I play. So,
Right now.
It's a lot of great musicians from Brazil.
yeah. Oh, from Brazil.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
Yeah,
Brazilians
definitely.
here. It's insane the amount of Brazilians you have here
yeah,
or
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. That always makes me think. In particular, there's a rising band here. Red Devil Vortex, with
Yeah.
the guitar player Luis Khalil.
Yeah.
He's a crazy guitar player. I mean, he's great. He's
Yeah.
the great crazy.
Yeah. Of course.
So what year was it when you arrived here in LA?
2012.
Okay, Dan, did you get into like Chuck Wright has the Ultimate Jam, which was happening even back then. Did you get
Yeah.
into the jams?
Yeah, and that was a way to meet more people and to let people know that I'm in town and that I can play and the things that I do. So I did that, and I did the one that Steve Ferlazzo has at the bowling.
That's why I
place.
met you.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
where's
I've
that
done both. It's at the Lucky
Lucky
Strike.
Strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
at? Right, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also one. I can't quite. I think it's by a guy named Eric. I can't quite remember. It used to be like Mondays at the Viper Room.
The
Eric.
Viper, I never did the one in the Viper.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of those, but then I don't know, you can't do all of them, it's just too many. And
Yeah.
there's other ones there's one like the jam card that is more like funk and groove and stuff like that. There's all sorts of jams, but I've
Yeah.
done that in the
The
beginning.
baked potato.
Yeah.
Baked potato.
That's another one.
Wait, they have a jam there too?
Mondays.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you can't keep
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. But I think, the one I like the most, maybe because I'm a rock musician, but it's the ultimate jam. Chuck Rice ultimate jam at the Whiskey
It was always fun. Yeah,
I
did
just
that
love
a lot.
going there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like the themes, the whole theme idea.
Yeah.
Like one week it's bands with bands that had makeup, or another week it's bands
Yeah.
that had string sections in them, or
Well,
you
I
know.
did the one with the bass. It was all the bass players playing bottom. What's the name? Forgot. Anyways, forgot the name of the song, but it was all bass players playing that song. It was like, I don't know, 40 bass players.
On stage, yeah. I was
Yeah.
there.
He was like, yeah. So exactly. So that was a fun one for sure.
Tell me about the gigs you did with Pat Travers and Elliot Easton of the Cars.
Yeah, that was a gig that we did for scrap metal. And they always had like guests, right? Different guests coming. And they have them coming. And also the guy from Boston, the guitar player. His name's totally,
Tom Scholz.
no.
Boston?
Yeah.
Not Tom Scholz?
No. Anyways, forgot his name. Sorry. But that was a while ago, and so yeah, that's how we ended up playing together, and it was a blast. I was so excited to play with them. It was pretty amazing. And then I had to do some backgrounds as well. So it's like I can't believe I'm playing with these guys. So that was basically that. There was a thing that was put together for the scrap metal.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah. Well, we
Pretty awesome.
just have time for really one more here before we head into our exclusive portion with Julia. And so just the last question I want to ask you about is, I always see you playing with Fender Bass.
Yeah.
Do you have is there a reason for that, and do you have a particular favorite model?
Yes, I do. I love the P bass and the precision. And since I played before with a bunch of different basses. I had a Warwick. There was a phase. I had Music Man, which I love, but it was like 5 strings that I was playing a lot, so it made sense. Then I started playing rock, and I just got the P bass. I was like, man, I feel like this bass is so versatile. It can go, there's no going wrong with that bass. And if you need maybe a little more mids and brights, you're able to accomplish that too. Like the way I play too, I bring like some plucking with the fingers. But so I feel like it's a great versatile bass. It's easy to play. Because I was playing a lot with 5 strings, the neck of the jazz, I have a jazz right here, the neck of the jazz for me tends to be too small. So I don't have a huge hand, but I have a pretty decent hand. And I was used to 5 strings with it. And the Warwick was like fucking, I don't know if you can swear, but it was like a huge neck. So I was like, okay, now I'm playing with the P bass. It feels perfect. The jazz feels just like I'm playing, I don't know, a violin or whatever. It's just like, nee. So it's just comfort for me too. So I love the P bass. I've just been with the P bass for a long time now.
So what's the name of the new single?
What is it?
The name of the new single that you're gonna put out.
It's called The Horizon.
Oh yeah. The desert.
In the desert.
Yeah, do you have a release date in mind for that, or
It's probably gonna
particular?
be somewhere in July because everything is ready, but I'm waiting actually for a mix. That's all, and then you need a few weeks just to things go up and everything go right. So somewhere in July, hopefully. Yeah, and I have the
Gotcha.
video, and yeah, it's exciting.
Well, Julia, that brings us to the end of our show today. Good luck with your releases, and continued good luck with Vixen.
Yes, I'll see you guys in the summer. I don't know, I'm Brazilian. Summer. with the band.
People listening, you can keep in touch with Julia at julialage.com. That's Julia and then LAGE.com. And of course, on social media. And please find the Rock Music Alliance on patreon.com. Join us there and you'll get stuff. So it's join us there and look for the exclusive content portion that we have there with various artists and including Julia. Well, Julia, thanks for being our guest today at the Rock Music Alliance interview sessions.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Hopefully I can come back soon and anytime. And I hope to see you both in the shows.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Ciao, Julia.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, guys.
I'm Cole Coleman. And for Claudio Pesavento, the Rock Music Alliance, and the RMA Awards, thanks for watching and listening. Visit us at rockmusicalliance.com and check out this year's RMA Awards for rock, metal, and progressive rock music.